All right, so picture this with me, okay. 5.5 foot alligator. Not in a swamp, though. This one's strolling through a park, visiting nursing homes even, posing for selfies.
Sounds like something straight out of a movie, right?
It does, but it's not. This is Wally. He's an emotional support alligator. And get this, he's internet famous. Oh, and also recently went missing.
It's a story that really does grab you, doesn't it? And it makes you think about some really interesting things, like how people connect with these, well, unusual animals, how social media plays into all of it. And, the laws around emotional support animals are kind of a mess, honestly. Yeah. It's fascinating. We've got two news articles here, one from AP News and one from NPR.
Hmm?
Both of them give us a really good picture of what's going on.
Okay, so Wally. Besides the whole being an alligator thing,
Hmm.
what makes him so special?
Well, he's actually known for being really gentle. Like, thousands of people follow his adventures on social media. I mean,
Oh.
alligators, they're known for their bite, right? So
Yeah.
to see one being so gentle, it really makes you rethink things.
It really does. Most people would see an alligator and think dangerous, not like cuddle buddy.
Right.
But you mentioned social media, so how does that fit into all of this?
Well, he actually got even more famous because of a story last year. He wasn't allowed into a Phillies game.
Wait, what? Hold on, he had tickets.
Not exactly. His owner, Joie Henney, tried to bring him along.
Okay, brave move.
Right. The story went viral, which, made him even more famous. But since he's missing now, it brings a whole other layer of complication to things.
Let's talk about that. What do we actually know about him going missing?
Both of the articles say that he disappeared in Brunswick, Georgia. Henney was on vacation there. And Henney says Wally was stolen, right out of his enclosure. And it gets weirder.
Oh, no. How?
He thinks that somebody then left Wally on some random person's property.
Okay, hold on a second. If I found an alligator in my yard, calling the cops would be like the first thing I do.
Right. But someone called eventually because the Georgia Department of Natural Resources says they caught a nuisance alligator that day and let it back into the wild.
But was it Wally? Like, do we know for sure?
That's the big question, isn't it? And unfortunately, they can't actually confirm if it was him. It's like a real-life game of where's Wally, but with way higher stakes, which leads to a pretty big question. How does an alligator become an emotional support animal in the first place?
That's exactly what I was thinking. How often do you hear about an emotional support alligator, right? What's the process even like for something like that?
Well, it kind of shows just how all over the place things are with this. There's no actual list, like a real registry for emotional support animals.
Really? I kind of thought there'd be like a database or something.
Yeah, a lot of people think that.
So how do you figure out what works then?
That's where it gets tricky. Henney's an interesting case. He said that he was having a tough time dealing with depression. Lost a few people close to him, you see. And Wally helped him through it.
So they have a bond, but where does the whole emotional support animal part come in?
Usually a doctor has to get involved. Think of it like a prescription, but instead of medicine, it's a companion. And in that AP article, they mentioned that Henney says his doctor actually did that, endorsed Wally.
No way. Seriously. That's wild. But even if a doctor says it's okay, I mean, isn't there a legal side to this? It's an alligator. It's not like a cat or a dog.
You're spot on. And this is where things get really complicated, because it's different in every state, right? Pennsylvania, where Henney's from, they don't actually have a law saying you can't own an alligator. But Georgia, where Wally went missing, you need a special permit.
So even though Wally helps his owner, Georgia could still be a problem.
Exactly. And it's important to understand there's a big difference here, legally, I mean, between an emotional support animal and a service animal.
I have to admit, I don't really know the difference.
Of course. So service animals, they're usually dogs. They're trained very specifically to help people with disabilities. And the law protects that. They can go anywhere with their person. Emotional support animals, they provide comfort, companionship. It's super valuable, don't get me wrong. But the law doesn't see them the same way.
So if Henney wanted to take Wally to a Phillies game, that wouldn't be okay. Legally, I mean.
Right. It's not the same as a service dog. And that's important,
Yeah.
Especially these days with more and more people looking for emotional support from all kinds of animals.
It makes you wonder about the whole human-animal bond. I get being close with your pet, but snuggling an alligator, that's different.
It definitely makes you think twice. But honestly, as strange as it seems to some people, this just goes to show you everyone finds comfort in different ways. And Henney's not the only one. That NPR article, they talked about a psychologist, Lori Kogan.
Oh, what'd she say?
Well, she said that even though Personally, she wouldn't choose a reptile to, be her comfort animal. People connect with all sorts of creatures. It's just human nature. She even said that even though reptiles aren't fuzzy and cuddly, they still offer a sense of calm, a routine. It makes sense, in a way.
I can see that. But if someone's comforted by a snake or a lizard, what then? Legally, I mean. Or are we in trouble if there aren't clear rules about all this?
That's the million-dollar question,
Yeah.
you know? And this is where Wally's story, it becomes something more than just a weird news story. It's like he's shining this light on how unclear the laws are. And it makes people talk about what it means to own an animal responsibly, about the people who really need emotional support. And obviously, it makes people think about safety. Everybody's safety, really.
It's a tough one for sure. No easy answers. But everyone deserves to find comfort, right? It's just balancing that with, like you said, safety for everyone.
Exactly. And I think that's a big reason why this whole Wally thing has gotten so much attention. It makes you think about owning pets responsibly,
Yeah.
especially when they're not your average dog or cat.
And speaking of attention, that NPR article, they mentioned all the support there's been for Wally. People really want to see him back home.
It's pretty amazing. People have donated tons of money to help find him.
Wow, seriously?
Yeah. And it's not just money. Social media is full of people trying to help, calling the authorities, putting up posters. Someone even suggested hiring a bounty hunter.
Talk about dedication. It's more than just a missing Tet, though, isn't it?
You got it. Wally's story, it makes us really look at how we see animals. Like, where's the line between a pet and, well, something more? How do we support people who need emotional support, but also make sure things are done right? Make sure everyone's safe.
Big questions, for sure. So as we wrap this up, what's the one thing you hope people really take away from all of this?
I think it's this. Wally's story, it's really about that human need for connection, for comfort, even when it comes in the most unexpected package. We have to be understanding, not jump to conclusions. People find meaning in different ways, and that's okay.
Well said. Wally might be missing, but he's started a really important conversation, and it's one worth continuing even if he never makes it back home. It's about responsible pet ownership, about emotional support and how complicated it can be, and really it's about how humans and animals, well, how we fit in with each other, all of us.